I want to play that again. I played the extended version this morning. Of course, we're having part two of our message from last week, the consequences of rejection. And as we think about, even the words and the meaning behind this song, as she said, I told Jesus it would be all right. Which means is it's okay with me. I'm saying yes to you changing my name. Changing name could be, bringing you to a higher level. Changing your name is pushing you and prompting you further towards your divine purpose, your own divinity, and coming into the realization, just saying, you know what, I submit to your will for my life. I submit to this path that's laid before me. And I have an understanding that as I come into this knowledge, we'll talk about knowledge today. As I come into this knowledge, as I come into this awareness of my purpose, I do understand very well, Yeshua, God, Creator, that the world might just be against me. If I take this assignment, if I really, I'm talking about pick this thing up, wrap my arms around it, pull it close to me, and make my mind up that I won't let go. I understand that everybody else in the world might not get it. As a matter of fact, they might not get me, but it's all right. Come on, is anybody saying this morning? Think about, I want y'all to get it in your heart. Is it all right? Can you say to this one that was this divine example, you know what, bruh? It's all right. Change my name, change my appointment, change my trajectory, change my mind, change my thinking, change my heart, elate my spirit, elevate me. It's all right. I say yes. I throw up my arms in submission. I bow my head to you. I say it's all right. I know that I'm going to have to live holy. It's all right. I know that I'm gonna have to live corrigibly. We say corrigibly versus humble. I know that I got to walk circumspectly in the world. I know that there's some places I can't go. It's all right. I know there's some things that I cannot do. It's all right. There's some things I cannot say. It might be in this mind, but it better not come out that mouth. And even with that, God, cleanse my thoughts. Give me a clean heart, oh Lord, where even my thoughts are lined up with your will. So even my thoughts that might become words, that might become action, that might become habit are clean, God. It's all right. And I'm going to tell you the point is, as we talked about last week, is that if we reject the trajectory, if we reject our divine purpose, then we're rejecting even our reason for being, our reason for getting up in the morning and rising and shining. But I tell, right now, it's all right. If you change my name, you make me better, mold me into who you want me to be. We understand we're on that potter's wheel. It's not always comfortable. When we are being molded and made, it's not always comfortable. It's not always pretty. You ever seen a potter and they're making a vessel And I mean, it might come all the way made and it looks beautiful. Like, oh wow, when that thing gets in the fire and it's kilned up, that's gonna be beautiful. And they say, you know what? No, it ain't ready. Smash! Let's start all over again. Look, you might think, come on, y'all. You might think that because the age and stage, you say, I'm good. I don't need no more molded. I don't need no more teaching. I don't need any more instruction. And God say, you know what? This vessel that has been made, it needs some work. Oh, I see a bubble right there. Oh, there's a little crack coming up the side. Smash! Let me break you down so that I can build you up and make you better, make you more beautiful, make you where you are a vessel that can hold what I want to put inside of you. Because some of you right now, you are not ready for what God would want to deposit in your life. So I want y'all to say, smash! If I'm not ready, God, smash. Push me down, press me, get some more water, get some more mud if you have to. Build me up so I'm a vessel that can hold what you are trying to put inside of me. Be willing, say yes. I want to be a willing, able, effective, efficient vessel for what God wants to put inside of me. That might take some work. That might take some time. Before you even get in the fire, we ain't even got to the fire yet. We're being molded. We're being scooped out and pushed around and a little bit more water, a little bit more mud. Pulled up, pushed down. But what did I say? I told Jesus it would be all right if you change my name. And that does not happen just by, oh Lord, change me, make me, and then boom, boom, boom. Oh, not perfect. I got it. No, it takes time. It takes development. And it takes something on my part while I'm sitting there to seek knowledge, to seek wisdom, to seek understanding. We'll go back to our scripture from last week, Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Why? Because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. So I have a couple of quick little snippets of a video, and then we're going to come right back.
To overcome the government of the United States of America. I'm born to defeat this wicked enemy, to give the black man liberation. I'm born to do that. Dear brothers and sisters, our problem is not white people. The white man is not our problem. Our problem is our fear of white people. And as long as we are afraid, fear will cause you to act foolishly. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that time brings us into new fields of knowledge. Since time brings us into new fields of knowledge, if we reject the time and the new field of knowledge that time brings, what is the result of that rejection? The result is failure, loss, ruin, disgrace, and destruction. All of us, therefore, must keep our hearts open to truth, and we must constantly be in a state of humility. For once we give ourselves over to pride in what we have of knowledge or what we have attained in this world, then we close ourselves up to a new field of knowledge brought about by time and the requirements of the time. Then we set ourselves up for the consequences of rejection. It is written in the Bible that my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. You cannot deny that we as a people are systematically and daily being destroyed. Would you agree? If you agree that we are systematically and daily and hourly being destroyed, what is the cause of this destruction? It is the lack of knowledge. If we know, we can protect ourselves from destructive forces. If we know, we can master the forces of destruction. But the lack of knowledge allows forces of destruction to come into our lives and to destroy us personally, our families, our communities, and the nation. But also,
So now I want to really get into, I wanted to show that one because he talks about basically that danger of rejecting knowledge. And even, this is a thing that happens whether people even really understand it or not, because if you don't seek it, if you don't really seek truth and understanding, then that's really the same, it's coming out of the same space and the same spirit as rejecting it. Oftentimes we talk to people and they're like, man, I don't want to hear all that stuff. I mean, we've been told that. I don't want to hear that black stuff. You be all excited because you heard something about history or something like that, and folks look at you like, huh, okay. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's rejection. It's like, because there's like a wall to say, I don't want to even hear it. Because if I hear it, maybe somewhere along the line, I got to be subject to it. But we owe it to ourselves. And what I love about what the minister just said is that we've got to be open to new fields of knowledge. Look at where we are right now in this technological age. There are so many things that are at our fingertips that could be of help to us. Now, there are some things that, yeah, it can go too far, it can go rogue. Look at AI, how AI is just growing by leaps and bounds. Now we're seeing these cars driving all around Atlanta, driving themselves. With nobody in it, just driving around and mapping stuff and actually can serve as Ubers and all that. Now that we understand that technology is going at such a pace, and we could say, I don't want to know nothing about that. I don't need to know about it. But I'm telling you what, if you were to find some of these things and use them with an understanding of where you're trying to use it at for your betterment, for the betterment of your family, for the betterment of even you building yourself up in your knowledge and your career or whatever it is that you want to do, use it for yourself. Use it for your community. Use it for good. We shouldn't just say, I don't even want to know about it. You better know about it, because honestly, you pick up your phone, you using AI. You get on this computer right now and you're looking at Zoom. This is AI. If I could turn on something right now that would transcribe every word that I'm saying, no person is back here typing, it's AI. So we might as well figure out how to use it and use it for your purposes, to help your business, to help your mind, to help you grow, and see what you can get out of it. We understand somebody using it for bad, but what you need to figure out how they using it too. Be aware, be knowledgeable. We ask things about things that's going on in the world. We got to know what's going on in the world. We need to understand what's happening to our neighbors next door. There's nothing wrong with that. And understanding these new fields of knowledge could be the one thing that sets you free. I want to talk about that for just a second. The acceptance of new field of knowledge is especially important to Black people because it is directly connected to liberation, empowerment, cultural advancement, and listen to this, and survival in a constantly changing world. It's one thing the minister talked about. It's about our survival. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to just survive. I don't want to just make it. I want to thrive. I want to advance. I want to progress in this world. So that means I need to understand what's going on in this world in 2025. 1995 technology ain't gonna make it. As a matter of fact, anybody still got a cassette player? Some of y'all might. I ain't gonna dislike it. Cause I think I had one for the longest. Just got rid of it. I had an old little stereo I got from Goodwill. Still had a CD player and a cassette, and I still had a Timberland shoebox with some singles in it. Y'all remember singles? Look, if we talk to some kids right now, they don't know nothing about no single. I had, oh man, I kept this cassette. It was like the first 112 album was like one of my favorites. And I kept that one. I kept some of my faves. We still got CDs upstairs, but I'm trying to think. I think Cedric got something in here in the studio that could play a CD. But you buy a car now. Is there a CD player in there? Remember, like, I know my brother, I'm sure Cedric had one. You done got the special CD player that's in the trunk that plays about six of them, and you put them in there. They might be stacked up or they're in the circle. Y'all remember that? And don't let no CD fall out of the circle. And then you got like turn it up upside down and try to shake it out. Look, they don't know nothing about that. But we can't make it. I'm saying this. Y'all want to make it on CD technology right now? Or let's go back to Mama and Miss Alice, the 8-track technology right now. Y'all want to do that? Listen to the whole thing, or stop playing. You got to take it out and try to blow in it. Or like old Nintendos, got to blow it to the cassette. No, we got to make it on 2025. As a matter of fact, we need to be looking forward. What's coming in 2027? Come on, y'all. What's coming in 2030? Because y'all know almost everything now is starting to talk about 2030. Have y'all caught that? In public health, we always take it about 10 years at a time. And you all know too that the World Economic Forum has said by 2030 you will own nothing but be happier. So they plotting and planning. They've been planning for about 30 years for 2030. While we barely looking at tomorrow. So we need to understand what's going on, and we need to embrace new fields of knowledge so we can keep up. So we can get ahead. So our children can get ahead. It's about our survival as a people. And historically and presently, Black communities have often been excluded from, underrepresented in, and marginalized by dominant knowledge systems, which makes engagement with new fields both a necessity, and I want y'all to hear me with this, and a form of resistance. We need to know. I remember being in high school, even college, and there was all kinds of programs. Gloria, I'm sure probably even Grace has gone through this. You hear about something and you like late to the party. Like everybody, see, people know about scholarships and fellowships and all kinds of stuff. You ain't even heard about it. Ain't even past your door. And nobody you know about it. But for some reason, some dumbbell boy, his mama plays tennis with another mama whose daddy is the president of blah, 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 and they know everything. They ain't making no good grades or nothing, but they get a scholarship, they get a fellowship, they get this internship that everybody wanted, nobody could get. We've got to get into those spaces. We've got to look, we've got to research, we've got to explore so that we can be a part of the change. And then people look like, how'd you get in? You ever been into a place? Because I've been there a couple of times where you like, just figure this one out. That was God because it led me to understand who to talk to, who to befriend, who to know, where to look. Now with the internet, there's all kinds of ways to get information. Just chat GPT alone. You start asking questions, that joker will tell you and give you the link so you can go to the source. We need to understand. So, as we talk about the consequences of rejection, if we reject knowledge, we reject advancement of our own selves. We reject liberation of our people. We reject empowerment and cultural advancement, and we reject our survival. Now, I ran across this and I want to kind of talk about it for a minute. There's a such thing as the theory of knowledge. The theory of knowledge, they actually call it TOK, T-O-K, which I thought was interesting because, like, we got TikTok, TOK, and it explores how we create and use and evaluate knowledge. It looks at different ways of thinking, different perspectives, and the assumptions. I want y'all to hear me. And the assumptions that shape our thinking. Now, we assume things, and that is what's primarily shaping our thinking. Is our thinking based on fact, assumptions? Is that based off of what you know and what you can prove? No. We need to base our actions, our next steps, our goal setting on what we know, not what we assume. A lot of times, I don't know about that because, yeah, normally they don't do this, or normally, or this, that, and the other. Or somebody will even tell you, normally it's not like that. I tell you, I've learned so many things sometimes based off of what somebody thought or what they assumed or what they told you they assumed, and they probably knew the truth. They just telling you something to get you off course. And we sit there and take it. We say, okay. And we walk away and we don't ask again. We don't ask anybody else. We don't look it up for ourselves. We don't look for the policy. We don't look for the law. We don't try to find out, is that even true? We've got to question everything. We've got to look for ourselves. By the time somebody tell me something, I'm over here to the side. Let me kind of write a couple of notes when I get back where I can sit down. Let me look that up. Now, there are several key reasons why all of this is important, why acceptance of new fields of knowledge is so important. One, and I actually really like this one, is to break historical cycles of exclusion. Who's going to break it up? Who's going to show up? We see it now in sports all the time of people that break down the barriers and they show up in places that folks never imagined. I tell you, I saw this young lady a couple of days ago. She's a diver. Let me tell you, if that girl with them big thighs, and I don't mean big, I'm talking about these powerful thighs. You see that glow? Look, she didn't even have a swim cap on her head. Homegirl had braids. I was like, girl, and she did this thing, and she got to the edge, and her one leg went up. She almost looked like a ballerina. Her leg went up, and then she jumped, and she jumped again. I don't know how many rotations she did before she hit that water. I was like, when have I seen a black girl diver, and I mean, she was way up there. I mean, we everywhere. If you I ain't gonna say let us in. When we get in, you ain't gotta let us. We just coming. We busting the door down. We will exceed every record. We will come in here and wreck shop. So with that knowledge, yet NASCAR, yes. I'll be about scared to go to one of the big old races, boy. When you go past what's that thing down in Alabama? We go past that big motor speedway. Boy, all them folk out there. But hey, we on the track. We're on the side in the pit. We're in the offices. Come on, y'all. So yeah, we gotta break historical cycles of exclusion. For centuries, Black people were denied access to formal education and scientific advancement. But what's amazing, me and Cedric was talking about this the other day. How many stories do you hear of slaves that taught themselves how to read? How do you teach yourself how to read? How do you learn phonics? How do you learn spelling? How do you learn pronunciation? How do you know a TH goes this way and an EI go this and I before E except after C? How do you know that when you're teaching yourself? You heard a little bit here, you piece a little bit together there, maybe look through a window of a schoolroom. How do you figure that out? Do you know how many patents black people have dating back to probably 17, 1800s? And as much as we don't get credit for things, man, our name is on everything. One way or the other. We were there. We were creating. We were in the room. So now, even engaging in new fields, reclaim space in areas that were once off limits. Now, there's a big push for STEM, AI, biotechnology is huge right now. People are having surgeries where the surgeon ain't nowhere near them. It's a robot. The surgeon might be back, maybe manipulating some tools, but there's no people really by the patient. It's all being done with robotics, finance, policy. There are places that we were underrepresented, but we need to be at the table. What's funny is I was watching some of the things they were talking about all the people that were graduating, not just black, but just people, period, this year. And they were talking about how many folks were graduating with like IT or computer technology degrees. And basically, they're not going to be able to get a job because IT itself, one is it's not phasing out, but it's so robotic and so automated that you don't need as many people. I don't even know if y'all notice probably on your jobs. Do you see a whole lot of IT people like they used to be? I now actually they got rid of a lot of hours, unfortunately. But a lot of things are so automated with your Microsoft and all this stuff that you don't even need the person coming down to help you hook up your computer. I haven't had somebody come and hook up anything in years. Used to, you had to come get a person, set you up in your station. What they do, they say, put your card in, log in, your stuff automatically clones to your new machine. There's no need for all of that. But for so long, what happened, especially for us? Oh, you need to go into computers because computers is the thing. And so you got a lot of people that with that old knowledge going to college, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars getting a computer technology degree where you get out and there's no jobs. So even with that, what we have to do as a community is understand the trends and see it from afar off. What's going to be the next thing? I got to think about that for Zahar and Tafari. What's going to be the next thing? You can't be stuck in 1995, remember? 95, computer technology would have been it. That's cutting edge. But now, what can you do? Who can you be? What field what's going to be needed in the next 10, 20, 30 years? It's crucial. And to step into new knowledge is to step out of imposed limitation. Again, show up in a room that nobody expected you to be there. And then be the best when you get in there. We ain't talking about lackluster. We're not talking about mediocre. We're talking about when I step in the room, I got to be the best. I told Tafari, and we were talking about as a family, like, look, you know what? You got to be in a position where you cannot be denied. They might will want to try, but they need you. They need what you have. This acceptance of new fields of knowledge will liberate you, empower you, and add to your survival. The next key reason why this is important is economic empowerment. Like we mentioned, emerging fields like tech, renewable energy, AI, health innovation are shaping the future economy. And I see that even in the field that I'm in now. Everybody's trying to get into the next thing with laboratory science. You know, there's all different types of machines that are being built to test for different diseases and reagents and you know the chemistry of it, the radiology of it. And I'm now immersed in a world with a lot of different sciences, stuff I never even heard of, chemical safety scientists and radiology like laboratory scientists and pathologists. That's something that there's always going to be a need for pathology. Always going to be a need for even radiologists. There's so we got to think about again thinking ahead so that we can even empower our children. Another thing is to think about entrepreneurial possibilities, not just about even getting a degree and going into, you know, a certain field and being a W-2 employee, but what kind of things are coming up next for entrepreneurs? How are things being automated? How can you make something that nobody's ever heard of before, but you know they're gonna need? The next thing is cultural survival and narrative power. So we know that there's all these new fields with digital media, even storytelling platforms. This is an interesting thing. Like, do we have like a black YouTube? Do we have a black Rumble? What did we have back in the day? Black, it was black dating something or something like that. But all these scientists, all these computer technologists and folks in computer IT and all that, where's our YouTube? Where's our Zoom? Where's our teams? Black Planet? And all they know that black people actually created, they just put black on it. You know what I mean? Where's our platforms built by us, owned by us? Where's our what's the dude Zuckerberg or whatever his name is? Because they out here. You know they're here. We got kids graduating from college at 12. We know they're out here. Have we created that space? Have we pushed them to do for self versus going to get a job under somebody else in somebody else's departments at Google or at Facebook or at X or whatever? Like, we need to be creating our own. So as we are getting education, as we are learning, as we're going to STEM camp and all these things, we need to push entrepreneurship. We need to push how can we build generational wealth. We need to push, you need to go buy you a piece of land. You making, you know, six figures plus. How much land do you have? Don't go out here and pay. Well, man, when you look at the rent out here and stuff like that, even, you know, condos and stuff, that's ownership, but there ain't no land though. What can you do with it? You can't even, you know, park where you want to and grow what you want to and all that. Why not get a house? Now the prices of houses are dropping. Our new graduates, that's one of the first things when they get a job, they get their credit established. That's something we should teach them along way back as their kids, how to get their credit together and excel and exceed. One of the first things they should do versus getting a lease is getting a mortgage. We need to control our own narratives. We need to control the story. Because I tell you, if we listen to their stories, we're gonna be deceived again. I want to talk about just kind of these two questions as well with the theory of knowledge. One question is, what do you know? I want y'all to think about this. And the second question is, how do you know it? Think about that. So one, what do you know? And how do you know it? I want to read you this quote from Mark Twain. It says, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so." Now, Mark won't talk it right there. You know, a lot of people, I know that I know that I know. How do you know? Who told you? How do you know that? Are you absolutely sure? Would you stake, your next paycheck on it? So again, seeking knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is so important. We need to know for sure, not know something that might be a lie. And that has put us back too far over and over and over again. We've got to accept new knowledge. Even when we come here on Sundays and we come here on Tuesdays and we encourage you to read this book or read that article or watch this, it's not to just, okay, I don't just throw Minister Farrakhan up here because he's a great speaker. I put him up here because he is dropping gems. He's dropping nuggets. He's dropping historical fact that you can go back and read on it and be like, wow. And time after time, when you listen to these messages and the things and the prophecy that he has revealed, I'm telling you, like, you gotta take it. That doesn't matter who the knowledge comes from. You gotta say, you know what? That is spitting facts. And I'm telling you, I have literally, Cedric and we have literally staked our life on what the minister said to do and not do. Come on, y'all. And it has worked for our good. I'm talking about, what do you know? And look, you might know something and other people reject it. Don't you back down from what you know when you know it. Just because nobody else understands, you don't back off of that thing. Too many people say, well, other people, they ain't nobody else is saying this. And do the research, do the knowledge, back up what you just know in your spirit, in your gut, and don't you get off of it no matter who says, who goes. When I look at Zahara right now, and I think I've told this story, we kept taking her to the pediatrician, and that lady was saying she's too small. You know, Zahara's almost taller than me. Yes, she was a preemie, but I'm small. I mean, I was never no Amazon. I was always the smallest one in my class. I'm not very tall, and then I was thin. And I was like, she comes from me. She's perfectly healthy. Well, eating all them vegetables and kind of being on that vegetarian diet and fish, that's not giving her enough fat. You need to give her some beanie weenies. No, ma'am, I ain't giving my child no beanie weenies. First of all, we don't eat that mess. And that's what you got for me? You ain't say, well, have her drink a little bit more milk and put some chocolate in the milk or something like that. You talking about some beanie weenies out of a can, some pork out of a can. You kidding me right now? I rejected that because that came from I'm about to say dumb. I'm sorry. It came from an ignorant place. Even though she's a doctor, a physician, a pediatrician, that was from a bad place. I know me and Cedric knew we have studied these things. And I look at her now, and she probably always gonna be thin. That's just in the genes. But I look at that baby that was about a month early. And she was not even barely 3 pounds, could fit in your hand. Her head was about that big around. And I see that girl now. how smart she is, how talented she is. What if we would have followed what people were telling us to do? What if? What if our son, we follow what people, doctors, so-called scientists were saying to do? Where would our children be now? You got to stand on what you know and know why you know it. Not because somebody said it, but because you have studied. You have looked further than a label. You have looked further than a tag or hashtag or a little what is the thing? Like a header on an article. Have you read it? And then did you go down and look at the references or read the references? Have you looked at other ideologies and places of thought? You know, have you looked at Eastern medicine? Have you looked at other ways that people are educating their children? Y'all, we can't be no one trick pony. We got to look at it all. The other reason why we really need to embrace some of these things, embrace knowledge, and I've kind of talked about health, is community health and justice. Of course, I'm big on health education, but knowledge in areas like public health, environmental science, and policy helps us to address health disparities and to even look at environmental racism. Look, y'all, we've talked about these chemtrails. I found this article the other day that in particular in Canada, but if they're doing it in Canada, you can expect they're doing it here. Look, they're planning on putting all kinds of even vaccines and things in the air. They call it Aerovax, Aerovax. We already know there's what all the aluminum and all these things in the air. They're putting it there so you whatever it is they want to give you, they can give it to you without your consent. Why? Why do so many black people end up with all kinds of rare cancers and things when they live by power lines and they live by power plants and they live by hog farms and beef slaughterhouses? It gets seeped into the ground. And generation after generation, because they can't afford to leave, they can't afford to move, they stuck in sickness and disease. That's environmental racism. We go out here and we look even on our side of town, and you see where they build these houses, like right there by those huge, you ain't never seen power lines, them big power grids right behind people's houses. How dangerous is that? We don't know what the ramifications for these things are. And I don't know, Cedric, have you seen that behind them big houses in Alpharetta or Sandy Springs? I never seen them big old power lines and power grids and whole almost like 2 streets long behind houses. When black people are trained in and can contribute to these fields, and I mean for real contribute. I don't mean be there and go for the okey doke and just get along and all that stuff and go for the other side. I'm talking about that's gonna advocate and fight for justice for us. That's gonna make a difference. That can make a difference in our future. Again, we're talking about our survival. And I don't know who's advocating for the black folks down in Duplin County and Sampson County in North Carolina. You know, they make a documentary about it. I saw a documentary about some folks over in Alabama, some things happening down there. They make a documentary and oh, that's so sad. You know, mama, grandmama, great grandmama, everybody down there sick, birth defects, all kinds of things. Oh, it's so sad. Well, what are you doing about it? How can you get these people out of here? How can you clean up this environment? Next thing is education of the next generation. Exposure to new knowledge sets new standards for what's possible for Black youth. And that's one of the things that, I'm so happy to see, in around us and people that we know is, as we set a standard for ourselves, the trajectory of our children has got to change. That's the part though. They gotta accept it though, right? Because when we talked about that with Mother's Day, they got to accept what's given. But if you provide it, the trajectory of their lives, the predictor for success is going to be higher because we work so hard to get to where we are. We can expose them to careers that we didn't even know anything about. And we can build legacy. We can build that generational wealth. The last thing, I know we're at time. I hear my clock going off. When we embrace new knowledge, listen, we gain spiritual and intellectual liberation. New knowledge doesn't mean abandoning, where we came from, but it means building on that, putting away what doesn't serve us and expanding it. We have African and diasporic traditions that have always been dynamic. Even as African Americans, and I keep hearing this thing about we don't have any culture, y'all, we are the culture. We are it. And we gotta be like, you know what? This is mine. Y'all in here imitating what I built. We built this. And so we need to go back and embrace even our African spiritual traditions and integrate what we know now as well as that ancestral wisdom. We got to take it all the way back and then bring it forward. That's why, honestly, I love this ministry because we are really trying to push forward, push past the traditions and the rituals that really have not served us well and look at a kind of a global perspective, even for our spirituality. When you don't put no limits on yourself, you removing the limits that God say, I ain't got none. You the one that put limits on this thing. We got to open it up. And accepting new ideas ensures that Black minds and spirits stay open and powerful. And that's what I want for you all. I want your beautiful Black minds to stay open and be powerful. I'm going to leave you with this. The acceptance of new knowledge is an act of liberation. It's an act of empowerment, of cultural advancement and survival. This world is changing and you got to change with it. As a matter of fact, it should be changing following you. We should be setting the pace and the tone. So for Black people, this thing about knowledge is not just about learning. It's about reclaiming our place as trendsetters, as the one that did it first, the one that did it best. It's about reshaping futures and building systems where we are no longer the exception, but we are the architects. Oh, I just